The hook. The galaxy was full of noise, light, and power, but the human inventor lived in silence. He was not famous. He was not rich. He was just another man among billions, a shadow that most aliens ignored. In the great alien city, he walked through markets where humans were treated as weak, small, and unimportant. But inside him, there was something different. He carried ideas, dreams, and scars of the past. He had once been part of something greater, but now he was alone. His tools were broken. His workshop was nothing more than a dark corner filled with scraps. Yet even in that forgotten place, his mind never stopped working. One day, as he moved through the crowded alien market, he noticed a little girl. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes clouded white. She stumbled as she tried to walk, her small hands reaching out to touch the air. The crowd flowed around her as if she was invisible. Some laughed quietly, others shook their heads. The human stopped. He knew what those eyes meant. She was blind, a child already abandoned by fate. In a galaxy ruled by power and strength, blindness was a curse, and no one cared, not even her own kind. The human felt a weight inside his chest. It reminded him of another face, long ago, someone he had failed to protect, someone who had slipped away because he could not help. His fists tightened. He could not change the past, but maybe he could do something now. He followed the girl from a distance, watching her carefully. She stumbled again, nearly falling. Her small voice whispered in her own tongue, though he could not understand it. He understood the feeling, though. She was afraid, alone. That night, he returned to his workshop with her image burning in his mind. He sat among broken wires, cracked lenses, and half-dead batteries. He had nothing but scraps, but he also had his mind, and his mind whispered. One word, Visor. He began to work. His hands shook at first. His tools were old and rusted, but he pushed forward. Every spark, every screw, every piece of glass became part of something greater. Hours turned into nights. Nights turned into days. The world outside forgot him, but he did not stop. As he worked, memories haunted him. He remembered his sister, long gone. He remembered how helpless he had been. He remembered her blind eyes staring at him in the dark before she was taken. He had failed then, but he swore he would not fail again. The prototype visor slowly took shape. It was not pretty. It was not perfect. The edges were rough, the wires thin, but it carried a piece of his soul. It carried all the hope he had left. When it was finally done, he held it in his hands. His heart pounded. It was fragile, but it might work, or it might fail and shatter the little hope he had. But he had to try. The next day, he returned to the market. The girl was there again, sitting near a wall, her knees pulled to her chest. She looked smaller than ever. He walked toward her slowly, careful not to frighten her. She heard his steps and turned her clouded eyes toward him. Her voice was soft, uncertain. She did not know him, and she did not trust easily, but he knelt before her and spoke gently. His words simple, kind. He showed her the visor. She reached out with small trembling hands, touching its surface. She did not understand what it was, but she felt his warmth. She felt something different in him. Not pity, not cruelty, but care. He placed the visor gently on her head. His fingers adjusted the straps. His heart raced as he pressed the final switch. For a moment, nothing happened. His chest tightened with fear. But then, light. Her eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. She blinked again and again, and then tears filled her eyes. She could see, for the first time, she could see. Her little hands touched his face, her fingers tracing his jaw as if to confirm he was real. She laughed and cried at the same time. Her voice called out, her words bright and full of joy. The crowd stopped, eyes turning, whispers rising. The human felt something warm in his chest. For that single moment, the galaxy's cruelty faded. For that single moment, he had given back what had been taken, but as he held her hand, he noticed the stares. Whispers spread like smoke. Aliens pointing, murmuring, some with awe, others with greed. The market that had ignored him now saw him, and in their eyes, he saw both wonder and danger. The visor had given her sight, but it had also painted a target on him. He knew it, he felt it, and somewhere, far from the market, other ears were already listening. Soldiers, commanders, and those who would come not for kindness, but for control. The human inventor had changed one life. But in doing so, he had awakened forces that would soon come for the invention. The visor had worked, the blind alien girl could see, and the marketplace had witnessed a miracle. But miracles did not come without a price. That night, the human inventor returned to his workshop. His hands still trembled, not from fear, but from the memory of the girl's laughter. That sound had cut through his loneliness like sunlight breaking through a storm. He had given her sight, but deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. His workshop was nothing more than a broken room hidden between alien buildings. The walls were cracked, the lights flickered, and his tools were older than him. But to him, it was a sanctuary. It was the only place where his ideas could live. He laid the visor on the table, its surface scratched, its wires fragile. Yet it glowed softly. The girl's tears had fallen on it. And to him, that made it priceless. He began working again, his mind restless. The prototype had worked, but it was unstable. If the visor broke, the girl might lose her sight again. He could not let that happen. So he tore apart broken machines, scavenged discarded wires, and searched the dark corners of the city for parts no one wanted. Every spark that flew from his tools carried memory. He remembered his sister's blind eyes. He remembered the helplessness that had drowned him when he could not save her. This invention was not only for the alien child, it was for the ghosts of his past. Days passed. His hands grew sore, his eyes heavy, but he did not stop. He barely ate, barely slept. He poured everything he had into perfecting the visor. His heart whispered that if he could protect this one child, maybe he could forgive himself. Outside, whispers spread faster than fire. Aliens in the market spoke of the human inventor. Some mocked him, calling it luck. Others were afraid, wondering if this technology could change power in the city. And some were greedy, dreaming of how much they could sell such an invention for. The girl returned each day, her small hands clutching his, her laughter filling the dusty workshop. She looked around with wonder, seeing colors and shapes she had never known. She described them in her alien tongue, and though he understood little, her joy needed no translation. For the first time in years, the inventor felt alive. Her presence gave him strength. He taught her to walk without stumbling, to read simple signs, to see the stars at night. And in return, she gave him something he had long lost: trust. But not all eyes looked with kindness. In the shadows of the city, figures watched. Merchants whispered of fortunes. Smugglers whispered of power. And somewhere far away, in the cold halls of authority, a message was sent. A human has created something impossible. The visor became more than just an invention. It became a threat. One evening, as he worked on strengthening the design, the girl tugged at his sleeve. Her eyes, now bright, looked at him with concern. She pointed to the window where shadows moved quickly. The inventor froze. He knew they were being watched. He smiled to calm her, but inside, fear grew. He realized the truth. He had broken an unspoken law of the galaxy. Humans were not supposed to rise, not supposed to create. They were supposed to remain small, weak, unimportant, and yet he had given sight where there was none. The girl clung to him. Her trust was unshakable. She believed in him fully, but he knew others would not see his invention as hope. They would see it as power, as danger, as something to control. That night, he stayed awake. His tools lay silent. His eyes staring at the visor, he felt the weight of choice pressing on him. He could destroy it, hide it, and maybe keep them safe. Or he could stand by it, knowing that sooner or later someone would come. His hands shook, but he did not destroy it. He whispered to himself, "If I destroy it, she loses her light. If I keep it, we both face the dark." The visor remained, and with it remained the spark of defiance. The next morning, the girl laughed again as sunlight hit her face. She pointed at the sky, and for the first time, she described the rising sun. Her words were clumsy, her joy boundless. The inventor listened, his heart heavy and light at the same time. But outside, the market buzzed louder. Rumors now spoke of soldiers. Soldiers who had been sent to investigate. Soldiers who would not come with kindness. And in the shadows, 4 figures in armor moved closer to the city. Their steps heavy, their mission clear. The invention had given life, but it had also invited danger. The human inventor had saved a blind alien girl, but in doing so, he had drawn the eyes of power. And those eyes were now marching straight toward him. Whispers in the market. The market was never silent. Alien voices mixed with the cries of merchants, the clatter of machines, and the smell of smoke and spices. Yet on this day, the sound was different. There was a sharpness in the air, a current of rumors running beneath every word. Did you hear? The blind one can see again. A tall insectoid trader whispered to another, not by miracle, but by human hands. A visor, some kind of strange tool, muttered a scaled merchant, his golden eyes narrowing. If it works for one child, imagine how much it is worth. Imagine what power it could bring. Others shook their heads, some in disbelief, some in fear. Humans cannot make such things, an armored alien scoffed. They are weak, they are beggars, always relying on others. This is a trick, nothing more. But despite the arguments, the whispers grew louder, spreading from stall to stall, from street to street, until the entire market seemed to hum with one question. What else can the human do? The inventor, walking quietly through the crowd with the girl by his side, felt the stares. The market that had once ignored him now followed his every move. Some faces looked at him with awe, others with greed, and many with suspicion. The girl clung to his hand, her new eyes wide as she looked at the colorful world she had never seen before. She did not understand the danger of the whispers. To her, the market was bright, alive, and full of wonder. But the human knew better. He felt the weight of every gaze. He felt the storm gathering. That evening, as they passed a food stall, an old alien woman leaned forward. Her voice cracked but clear. "Be careful, human," she warned. "Your gift will not be seen as kindness. It will be seen as threat. The strong do not like when the weak stand tall." He stopped, surprised. The woman's eyes held no greed, only truth. He gave her a nod of thanks, but the words sank deep into him. He knew she was right. Back in his workshop, the whispers echoed in his mind. He had lived in shadows for years, building scraps no one cared about. Now, in one moment, he had stepped into light, and the light was dangerous. The girl sat nearby, her eyes fixed on the visor's glow. She practiced tracing letters on scraps of paper he gave her, her laughter filling the room when she recognized shapes. For her, life was new. For him, fear was old. Outside, the rumors traveled farther than the market. Messengers carried stories to merchants in other districts, and smugglers carried them into the dark corners of the city. The story of the human who made the blind see spread like fire, until it reached ears it should never have reached. In the grand halls of the alien authority, 4 armored soldiers received the message. Their commander's voice was cold as he gave the order. "A human has built something he should not. Go, bring him, bring the device, and if he resists." His pause was long, his meaning clear. End it. Back in the market, the inventor began to notice strange figures. They stood too still, their eyes too sharp. They were not merchants, not travelers. They were watchers, soldiers in plain clothes, blending into the crowd, but always close. The girl noticed too. Her small hand tugged at his sleeve. She whispered in her tongue, pointing to the men who followed them. Her eyes, though young, had already learned fear. He tried to calm her, but inside he felt the weight of the trap closing. The visor had given her sight, but it had also painted him as a target. He could not undo what he had done, and he would not take her sight away. That left only one path. He would have to protect her, no matter the cost. One night, as he worked on strengthening the visor, a knock came at his door. His heart froze. He did not open it, but a voice slipped through the cracks, low and urgent. "They are coming for you," the voice whispered. "You must leave tonight." He hesitated. Who was this? A friend? A spy? But before he could answer, footsteps faded away into the night. The girl looked at him with wide eyes, her hands trembling. She trusted him completely, waiting for him to decide. He closed his eyes, his chest heavy with fear and resolve. The market had given him whispers. The soldiers had been warned, and the walls were closing in. But deep inside, the human inventor knew one thing with certainty. He would not let them take her. And far away, under the dim stars, 4 armored figures marched closer to the city, their weapons heavy, their eyes sharp, their orders clear. The whispers in the market had become shouts in the dark, and soon those whispers would arrive at his door. The arrival of the soldiers. The city slept uneasily that night. Neon lights flickered over empty streets. Shadows stretched across broken walls, and the whispers that had once filled the market now hung in the air like smoke. Everyone knew the soldiers were coming, but no one dared to speak it aloud. The human inventor stayed in his workshop, the girl curled up near the corner, sleeping lightly with the visor beside her. He had not touched his tools for hours. His hands rested on the table, fists clenched. He could not shake the sound of that warning. "They are coming for you." Outside, boots struck the ground, heavy and slow, a rhythm of power. 4 armored soldiers walked through the city gates. Their armor was black with sharp silver edges, their visors glowing red in the dark. They did not hurry. They never needed to. Their presence was enough to freeze every soul that dared to look at them. The market fell silent when they passed. Merchants lowered their heads, mothers pulled children back into their homes. Even the bravest criminals vanished into alleys. No one wanted to catch the gaze of soldiers who carried the authority of the rulers. 4 of them, someone whispered from behind a shutter. For one human? Then it must be true. The soldiers moved like wolves, their eyes scanning, their voices cold. "The human lives here. He carries a device, a visor," one said through his comms. "Orders are clear." They split into pairs, 2 heading toward the market to ask questions, 2 marching straight for the sector where the human's workshop stood. Inside, the inventor felt it, a heavy weight pressing against the walls. His instincts screamed that danger was near. He stood and looked at the sleeping girl. For a moment he considered running. But where would they go? He had no ship, no allies, and the city belonged to those soldiers. He whispered her name softly. She stirred, her bright new eyes opening. She smiled when she saw him, but her smile faded when she saw his face. She sensed the fear. She sensed the storm outside. He moved quickly, grabbing tools, wires, scraps of metal. His mind raced. He had built the visor from nothing. Could he build something now to protect her? But time was against him. The first knock came like thunder, a heavy fist against the metal door. "Open," a voice commanded, cold and sharp. The girl froze, clutching the visor to her chest. The inventor placed a finger to his lips, urging silence. The knock came again, harder. "Human, open the door." He did not move. He could hear the hum of their armor outside, the faint crackle of weapons ready to fire. If he opened, they would take him, take the visor, take the girl. If he resisted, they would kill him. The silence stretched. Then the door shook as a boot slammed into it. The old hinges creaked. Dust fell from the walls. The girl whimpered softly, pressing herself against him. He looked at her, and in her eyes he saw trust. She believed he would keep her safe. That belief gave him strength. He whispered, "Stay behind me." The soldiers outside spoke again. "Last chance, human. Surrender the device and come quietly." The inventor's heart pounded. He knew he could not fight them with strength. They were soldiers, trained, armed, merciless. But he was human, and humans had something else, something the galaxy often forgot: cleverness. He reached for a small device on his workbench, a crude energy coil he had been working on. It was unstable, dangerous even, but it might buy time. He pressed a sequence of buttons. The coil began to hum. The door finally gave way with a crash. Splinters of metal flew as 4 armored boots stepped into the workshop. Their glowing visors locked on him instantly, weapons raised. The girl gasped and held the visor tight. One soldier pointed his weapon. "Human," he said coldly. "You will come with us. The device belongs to the authority now." The inventor stood tall, though his knees trembled. He looked at the girl, then at the soldiers. His voice was steady. "No." The word echoed in the small room, simple but powerful. The soldiers shifted, surprised at his defiance. Most humans broke quickly. Most humans begged, but this one stood. He pressed the final button on the coil. A spark burst, light filling the workshop. The soldiers raised their arms against the flash. In that second, the inventor grabbed the girl and pulled her behind the table. The coil erupted with a sharp crack, blasting sparks across the room. It was not a weapon strong enough to kill, but it was enough to blind and scatter. The soldiers cursed, their visors flashing warnings. The inventor held the girl close, whispering, "Run." But even as he said it, he knew there was nowhere to run. The soldiers would recover, and when they did, they would not show mercy. Outside, the market had grown silent again. People waited in their homes, listening. The sound of the blast carried through the streets. Fear spread quickly. Everyone knew war had come to the human's door, and inside the broken workshop, with smoke filling the air and soldiers rising again, the inventor realized the fight had only just begun. The chase. Smoke still curled through the small workshop. Sparks hissed from broken wires, and the soldiers' red visors glowed through the haze like burning eyes. The human inventor pulled the alien girl close, his chest rising fast. His little trick with the coil had bought them a few seconds, but seconds were not enough. The first soldier pushed forward, armor scraping against the wall. His weapon hummed with deadly energy. "You cannot run, human," he growled. "Surrender the visor and the child." The inventor's grip tightened around the girl's hand. Her small fingers trembled, but she held on with all her strength. He whispered, "Stay with me," then kicked over a pile of scrap metal. The pieces clattered across the floor, forcing the soldiers to step back for a moment. That moment was all he needed. He pulled the girl through the rear door, out into the cold night air. The alley behind the workshop was narrow and filled with shadows. He knew these streets better than most. He had lived in them for years, scavenging, hiding, surviving. "Move fast," he urged, his voice low but steady. The girl nodded, her new eyes wide and alert. She had never seen the city like this. Its towering walls, its neon lights, its endless dark corners. But she trusted him more than the fear in her chest. Behind them, the sound of armored boots slammed against the floor. The soldiers had recovered. Their heavy footsteps echoed as they stormed into the alley, their voices sharp. "Do not lose him. The authority wants the device intact." The chase began. The inventor pulled the girl through winding streets, past silent homes and shuttered stalls. Every turn felt like a trap, every shadow a watcher. He could hear the soldiers closing in, their steps relentless. They were faster, stronger, but he was smaller, quicker, and desperate. They ducked into a side alley, climbing over a stack of rates. The girl struggled, her legs short and unsteady, but he lifted her when she faltered. His muscles burned, but he did not stop. A blast of energy cracked against the wall beside them. Sparks flew as stone shattered. The girl cried out, covering her ears. The inventor pulled her down another street, weaving between broken machines and piles of junk. They will not stop, he thought grimly. His mind raced for options. He could not fight them head on, not with their weapons, not with their armor, but maybe he could outsmart them. The city was full of old tunnels, broken systems, places soldiers rarely looked. If he could just reach them. Another blast lit up the street. The shockwave knocked him forward. He hit the ground hard, pain shooting through his arm. The girl stumbled beside him, clutching the visor. For a moment, fear almost swallowed him. But then he saw her eyes, those bright, trusting eyes that once had seen nothing but darkness. He forced himself up, pulling her with him. "Not yet," he whispered. "I will not fail you." They turned a corner and darted into a narrow passage. The walls here were close, the air damp. He remembered this place, an old drainage tunnel that ran beneath the city. It was dangerous, unstable, but it might give them a chance. He pried open the rusted grate with trembling hands. The metal screeched. The girl slipped inside first, her small frame fitting easily. He followed, dragging the grate back into place just as the first soldier's shadow fell across the alley. The tunnel was dark, damp, and foul-smelling, but safe for the moment. The sound of boots echoed faintly above them. The inventor pressed a hand against the wall, breathing hard. His chest ached, but his mind was still sharp. The girl held the visor close to her heart. Her small voice whispered in her alien tongue, but he understood enough. She was asking if they would be safe. He gave her a nod, though he knew it was a lie. Safety was an illusion now. The soldiers would not stop until they found them. Above ground, the 4 soldiers regrouped. Their leader scanned the streets, his visor flashing data. "The human knows this city," he muttered. "He is using the tunnels. We will flush him out." They split again, 2 moving to block the lower exits, 2 moving to track his heat signature. Their steps were steady, their voices calm. They were predators, and they believed the human was prey. But prey could be dangerous when cornered. In the tunnels, the inventor moved quickly, guiding the girl through the maze of pipes and dripping walls. His mind mapped every turn, every exit. He had walked these tunnels many times when he was nothing more than a scavenger. Now they were his only weapon. The girl stumbled, her breath quick. He stopped for a moment, kneeling beside her. He brushed dust from her face, his voice soft. "I know you're tired, but just a little more. We can make it." She nodded bravely, clutching his sleeve. Her trust was unshakable, and that trust gave him the fire to keep moving. Behind them, faint echoes grew louder. The soldiers were already in the tunnels, their red visors cutting through the dark, their weapons humming. The inventor felt the ground shake with each step they took. He knew time was running out. He had to find a way not just to run, but to survive. And as he pulled the girl deeper into the maze, an idea began to form in his mind. Dangerous, risky, but it might be the only chance they had. The chase was no longer just about escape. It was about turning the hunters into the hunted. The turning point. The tunnel seemed endless. Dark water dripped from the ceiling. The air smelled of rust and decay, and every sound echoed like thunder. The human inventor moved quickly, guiding the little alien girl through the twisting maze. His breath came hard, his body ached, but he did not slow. Behind them, the soldiers were closing in. Their armored boots struck the ground with perfect rhythm. Their red visors cut through the dark like hunting eyes. They did not rush. They did not panic. They were hunters who believed their prey had nowhere left to go. The girl clutched his hand tightly. Her small frame stumbled over the uneven floor, but she did not complain. Every time she faltered, he pulled her up, whispering encouragement. "Almost there. Just keep moving." But even as he spoke, he knew running could not last forever. He could not outrun soldiers trained for war. He could not protect her by fleeing deeper into the tunnels. If he wanted to survive, if he wanted her to survive, he would have to change the game. He stopped suddenly, pulling her close to the wall. She looked up at him, her bright new eyes filled with fear and confusion. He crouched down, brushing dust from her cheek, his voice low. "I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me?" She nodded, clutching the visor close to her chest. Her trust was stronger than her fear. He gave her a small smile, then looked around the tunnel. His mind raced. This place was full of broken pipes, leaking energy cables, and unstable supports, dangerous for anyone, especially soldiers in heavy armor, and dangerous places were where humans always found their strength. He moved quickly, pulling out small tools from his belt, wires, and scraps of metal he had carried from the workshop. His hands worked fast, connecting a cable to a leaking pipe, twisting metal into a crude trap. Sparks crackled faintly in the dark. The girl watched silently, her eyes wide with awe. "This tunnel will be our weapon," he whispered to himself. The sound of boots grew louder. The first soldier's voice echoed through the tunnel. "Human, you cannot hide. Give us the device, and we may let you live." The inventor almost laughed, not with joy, but with grim defiance. They would never let him live, not after what he had built, not after what he had shown. He placed one final wire into position, then pulled the girl behind a broken wall. The soldiers appeared, their visors glowing red, their weapons hummed as they advanced, confident, merciless. The inventor's hand hovered over a small switch connected to his trap. His breath slowed, his voice was low but firm. "Stay down," he told the girl. She pressed close against him, her tiny fingers gripping his arm. The first soldier stepped directly onto the cracked pipe. The inventor pressed the switch. A burst of light and sound erupted. The pipe exploded with steam and sparks. Electricity surged across the tunnel floor. The soldiers cried out as their armor crackled with energy. The blast threw two of them backward, slamming them into the wall. The tunnel shook with the force. Dust rained from the ceiling. The girl gasped, covering her ears. The inventor shielded her with his body. His heart pounded as the smoke cleared. Two soldiers struggled to rise, their armor sparking. The other two had managed to avoid the full blast. Their weapons raised instantly. The inventor pulled the girl deeper into the tunnel. His trap had worked, but it would not stop them forever. Still, something had changed. For the first time, the soldiers looked uncertain. For the first time, the hunters had tasted fear. The leader growled, his voice echoing, "The human is clever, more dangerous than we thought. Do not underestimate him again." The inventor moved quickly, weaving through the tunnels. His mind burned with new ideas. Every broken pipe, every loose cable, every unstable wall could become a weapon. He did not have their strength, but he had the city itself. The girl whispered in her tongue, pointing back at the smoke, her eyes wide with both fear and admiration. She had seen what he had done. She had seen him stand against soldiers no one else would dare fight. He squeezed her hand, whispering softly, "This is not over. We will make it, I promise." The soldiers regrouped, their visors scanning the tunnels. One of them growled, "He cannot run forever. We will crush him." But another spoke with hesitation. "Careful, he is human, and humans, they always find a way." The chase began again, but now it was different. No longer was the human only fleeing. Now he was striking back, using his mind, using the environment, turning weakness into strength. For the girl, each step deeper into the dark was frightening, but also full of hope. For the first time in her life, someone was fighting for her, protecting her, not because of duty, not because of power, but because of choice. And for the human inventor, every trap, every clever trick, every desperate step was more than survival. It was defiance. It was a message. He would not surrender her. He would not bow. He would show the galaxy that even when stripped of everything, even when cornered and hunted, a human could still fight. The soldiers pressed on, relentless. But the tunnels now belonged to him, and as he prepared his next trap, the human whispered into the dark, "Come then. Let's see who walks out alive." The stand. The tunnels groaned around them, dripping water, falling dust, the echo of boots closing in. The human inventor knew the soldiers would not stop, not until they had him and the visor. But something inside him had changed. He was no longer running just to escape. He was running to fight. The girl clung to his hand, her new eyes wide in the dark. She trusted him completely, even as the shadows grew heavy and the soldiers' voices echoed closer. "End this quickly," one of them barked, their tone sharp and cold. The inventor paused at a wide chamber deep under the city. Old machines lay broken, pipes burst along the walls, energy cables dangled like snakes, buzzing faintly with power. It was a dead place, forgotten by the city above, but to him it was something else. It was the perfect battlefield. He knelt by the girl, brushing dust from her silver hair, his voice soft but firm. "This is where we make our stand. You must stay behind me, no matter what happens." She shook her head quickly, clutching his arm. Her alien words spilled fast, desperate. She did not want to lose him, not after he had given her sight. He smiled faintly, though his heart ached. "I will not leave you, but I must fight. Do you trust me?" Her eyes shone with tears, but she nodded. Her small hands clutched the visor tightly. The inventor moved quickly, gathering broken parts, dragging loose cables across the floor. He connected them to cracked power cells, twisting wires with bare hands. His mind raced faster than his fear. Every spark, every tool became part of his plan. The soldiers' boots thundered closer. Their glowing red visors appeared in the tunnel ahead, weapons raised, confident, merciless. The leader's voice cut through the chamber. "Human, surrender. Your tricks have bought you time, but they will not save you. The child and the visor belong to the authority, the Inven." Tor stood tall, dirt and sweat covering his face. His voice was steady. "No, she belongs to no one, and neither does her sight." The leader tilted his head, his voice sharp. "Then you die." The soldiers advanced, their weapons humming. The inventor pressed his crude switch. The chamber exploded with light and sound. Energy surged across the floor, bursting pipes and filling the air with steam. The soldiers staggered as sparks danced over their armor. Two fell hard against the wall, their systems overloading. The girl gasped, covering her ears, her eyes wide at the chaos. But the leader pushed forward, his armor scorched but strong. He raised his weapon, aiming straight for the human. The inventor dove behind a broken machine, dragging the girl with him. A blast struck the wall, stone and dust flying. He coughed hard, but his hands did not stop moving. He pulled a final coil from his belt, connecting it to a leaking pipe. Another soldier advanced, weapon glowing. The human snapped a wire loose, sparks burst, and smoke filled the chamber. He grabbed a broken metal rod and swung with all his strength. The rod cracked against the soldier's visor, shattering the lens. The armored figure stumbled, blind and cursing. The girl cried out his name, her voice shaking. He turned, breathless, his body aching, but he forced a smile for her. The last two soldiers regrouped, their weapons raised. The leader growled, "You cannot win. You are one human against trained warriors. This is finished." The inventor's chest heaved, but his eyes burned with fire. "Maybe, but humans don't stop when they should. That's why you'll never understand us." With one last surge of energy, he triggered the coil. A wave of light and sound tore through the chamber. The unstable walls groaned, pipes bursting in every direction. The ceiling cracked, rubble falling. The soldiers shouted in alarm, their armor sparked, their weapons flickered. The leader staggered as the floor beneath him split. The chamber roared as stone and metal collapsed. The inventor grabbed the girl, pulling her close. He shielded her with his body as debris crashed down. Dust choked the air. The world shook. When the noise finally faded, silence filled the chamber. Two soldiers lay broken beneath rubble. Another twitched weakly, his armor ruined. Only the leader remained, dragging himself up. His visor cracked. His weapon was gone, but his fury burned. He stumbled forward, glaring at the human. "You are nothing. You cannot protect her forever." The inventor stood, blood on his forehead, but his stance strong. The girl hid behind him, her eyes fierce despite her fear. He met the soldier's gaze, his voice low but steady. "Maybe I am nothing to you, but to her, I am everything, and that is enough." For a long moment the soldier stared. His broken visor reflected the human's defiance. Then, with a snarl, he turned and limped back into the tunnels, his pride wounded more than his body. Silence returned. The chamber was broken, but alive. The girl stepped forward, tears in her bright eyes. She touched the human's hand, whispering softly. Her alien words were simple, but he understood. She was saying thank you. He knelt, pulling her close, his voice rough but warm. You are safe now. As long as I breathe, you are safe. Above them, the city still lived in ignorance. The market still buzzed with whispers, and somewhere far away, more soldiers would surely come. But for now, in that broken chamber, a blind girl could see, and a human had proved once again what humanity truly was: relentless, clever, and unbreakable. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, that was more dangerous than any weapon.